Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another journey. Today I'm working again on a really large canvas, 24 by 36. I primed it with white gesso, leveled it off, making sure it is leveled so that the resin stays where I want it to. I'm going to just put down some of the resin mixture, 1-to-1 ratio. My color palette will include mostly resin paste, Baltic Day Dune Brown. I'm doing a beach scene, some beachy vibes on this hot summer's day. A royal blue, real rich. An electric blue, a little bit lighter. Again, like the ocean waves and the beautiful colors of the ocean. It's my intent to bring those in. And then a turquoise blue. Again, it is the Baltic Day. And I have a Let's Resin Ocean White, which is my cell activator, and that will be for the foam and the breaking of those waves. I'm hoping it works out. I'm not really sure. I have not done this type of beach wave using resin, and I thought at the end, as it begins to dry, I'll embellish it with some seashells. Again, just bringing in the beautiful colors of the ocean summer scene. So I'm just going to decided to go with the spreader this time. It is rather warm, or at least the resin has gotten rather warm rather quickly, and it is rather humid today, and I think that that's a factor in that, but I'm not really comfortable with it. It's not really spreading the way I want, so I think I'm going to go back to using my fingers. I just love the feel of that resin, and I can tell when the canvas is covered, and I just want to put a base down for the waves and the sand. And I'm not really too concerned about the sides right now. As the resin continues to self-level, it will drip down the sides. So I'm not horribly concerned about it right now. I just want to put down the resin, as I said, just to give it a flow, or to give the colors a flow, smooth it out. I did paint the sides with the gesso as well. And again, I'm working with a birchwood canvas. I find that it's I avoid the puckering and the dimpling effects that I get when I use the canvas. Although I have primed canvases, the linen canvases with the resin on the back, and it seems to be working pretty well. But for this particular piece, since I intend to embellish it, I am going to use the wood. And there are a lot of little gnats and dust particles in the air this morning, so I'm hoping I can fish them out a little bit more. And there are some bubbles, which is natural. Once again, those will start to pop on their own, and if not, I'll give them a little help with this heat gun, warming the resin up as I do so. And again, I'm using art resin, 1-to-1 ratio. I mixed it for about 5 minutes to get it real smooth and almost bubble free. But again, those bubbles will continue to form. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. The support and the encouragement that I'm getting from so many of my new followers are greatly, greatly appreciated. So just want to double up on the nitrile gloves just to protect my hands. I'm wearing long sleeves. Hopefully it will not be traveling up my arms. as happens when I am not wearing those long sleeves. I have my little lab coat on. I'm ready to go. My goggles and my mask is on. So what I want to do is actually start with this beautiful dune colored um, by Baltic Day that I mixed with that resin. And I want to put down the sand or the beachy part of our summer beach vibe scene here. So this will be my first time using the resin for a beach scene, so I'm hoping it works out. Just going to just spread it out or pour it out here and there. I'm not too concerned if I don't cover the entire section at this point, because I know that the resin will fill in those voids as I go, and the bubbles will continue to form. But then again, as I take the heat gun and more than likely the torch, I'll get those out. Let's hope I don't get any more of those little stragglers and dust particles and gnats. And there aren't any mosquitoes out today, so that's a good thing. There were the other day when I was working on a piece, and that was not very nice. But here I just want to, again, just heat up the resin, and as I do so, the bubbles will disappear. And you can see that the heat gun does move the resin about a little bit as well. So I'm liking that. I had thought about putting a different shade or a darker shade mixed in with this dune color, but I really like the way it is right now, and I'm just going to leave it as I fish out another little particle. I can't seem to find my tweezers this morning, and I neglected to pick up my my toothpicks, which would make it better. So I'm usually using the silicone stylus, trying to get that particle out, and that seems to work. And again, the resin will fill in those voids, those little nooks and crannies. So I want to actually start at the top, because that's the one that really draws you in. So I want to make the ocean in varying hues of that blue. So here I'm going in with this real rich royal blue, again by Baltic Day, and just pouring it out, trying to create some sort of movement, a wave-like component, or a wave-like pouring to it, much like the ocean. And I probably should not have used the entire amount, but because I did want to introduce some of it later on. But let's see how this works out. So again, just pouring the resin down, which I mixed into the resin and hardener mixture, and I just eyeball it. I don't really measure it out in terms of how much paste or in some cases mica powder I add in there. But I purchased these little tiny spoons, and I'm not really sure what they're called right now, but you can use the end of a popsicle stick, the small one, and just kind of just take a little tiny bit, and always start less. You can always add more to get it to the color that you want, which is what I did with the Baltic Day in that royal. And as I was doing it, just fishing out an additional little straggler as I'm watching this and talking with you. So I just gradually added the blue to that resin mixture to get it to that rich, darker color that I had wanted. I don't know if I should have perhaps gone in with a lighter shade of that royal blue, just to give it a varying composition, rather than just go in with this real pretty, deep, almost baby blue or aqua blue. It is pretty, but I'm thinking I could have used a gradient effect more so here. But I'm thinking perhaps once I put those waves in, it will break it up some. As I said, I hadn't done this with resin before, so it'll be an experience. Do hit that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated if you haven't done so already. Shout out to my my newest followers. I really appreciate you. So what I'm doing now is just trying to bring in some additional royal blue. So I did have a little bit left of it in that cup. So just adding a little bit more of the resin mixture to it. I wanted to break up the that lighter blue, that lighter shade that's in there, but I think I may not have enough to do that. But once again, we'll see as I put down the white for the waves. Just want to make sure get some more of those bubbles out. Again, taking the heat gun to it. I do plan, as I said, to embellish it a little bit, and I'm really hoping that this beach summer vibe scene works out today. Just getting all of that, wearing my mask, my nitrile gloves, as I said before, and I'm noticing the movement here. So what I want to do is actually come in with the lighter, soft baby blue, and as I'm pouring it down, I'm seeing that it's a lot lighter than I had expected. And I did a test prior where I ran the popsicle stick down the cup, and I used a plastic cup so you can kind of see, the colors that you're getting. But again, I fear that I did not put enough of the darker blue into that cup. So I want to try to add some. I don't know if you can hear the seagulls. Hearing seagulls out there. Since I live near the water, it's quite frequent sounds. All right, so I'm just going to continue and let you listen to some music. I think I'm just going to let it sit for a couple of seconds just to see where it goes. And again, each layer is having those bubbles, or those bubbles are forming. I'm not too concerned, but I will just blow them out at some point. What I should have done is actually leave a little space between the sand dune and that lighter blue for my white ocean color, or my white ocean swipe. I'm hoping it works out. So just trying to get it to commingle just a little bit. So I had taken the hair dryer to it. I want to take the torch and pop out some additional bubbles that the heat gun may have missed. And there are actually quite a few of them in that lighter blue, and I can tell. So trying to get a bird's eye view and then trying to go down closer to that. I'm noticing that at the top it has this natural, I think it's the canvas combined with the silicone that I put down initially, but some of that canvas is peering through, which isn't horrible because that resin that's on there will give it that sheen at any rate. But what I want to do now is just bring down the some more of the blue, just to kind of blend it in a little bit more and give it a depth rather than have it just one straight color. I want to try to just introduce some of the other varying shades of blue. So let me turn the music back on as I continue. So I have that down, and they're not as prominent as I thought. So I think I want to just see what will happen if I add a little bit more. Again, just trying to go for a natural ocean vibe here. And I'm introducing the lighter into that royal blue and into the deep, rich baby blue. And just filling in some of those gaps in between as I'm blowing it out. I'm hoping that it will all just come together. looking at it from this angle, it almost looks like, well, not quite yet, it's getting there, an ocean, but rather than the sand dune, which is closer to me, if you're looking at it from this angle, it looks like the sunrise, uh, or how the sunrise might look over the ocean, and then a deeper, richer, almost shadowy effect of mountains in the lower part of the canvas. That's not what I'm going for. So hopefully when I do this blowout, the cresting of those waves crashing on the dune, and also in the water itself, as you know, especially if it's rather choppy, if the oceans are rather choppy, you get those great big beautiful waves and that sea foam that, is just beautiful to watch. So I'm trying to capture that here a little bit. As I said, I have not done this type of pour. Actually, on the acrylic, I've done an ocean wave. It was just a wave that kind of crested, coming out from one side of the canvas, going toward the center. Where here I'm going for a full beach scene, and the ocean waves crashing on the sandy shores. So once again, just hoping it works out. Going in with this ocean white, it's called, Let's Resin, and this will give me the cells, well, at least I'm hoping it will give me the cells that I'm going for, as I'm creating this ocean scene. Let me know what you think. I so greatly appreciate those comments. Yes, I'm noticing there's a few dust particles here and there, which I definitely need to address, because as the composition dries, or as the resin dries, it takes away from the overall effect. But I just want to add uh, some of that ocean white into the darker royal blue to create some sea foam here as well. I want to just break it up a little bit so that it's not just a flat ocean or a flat color. Just trying to make it as realistic, or at least in my mind's eye, I am. Love the white contrast on that sand dune, really is pretty. So I'm hoping as I blow it out, that will come through. So let me turn some music on. So I have my dryer on low setting just to see what will happen with the resin and the interplay of that ocean white Let's Resin for the cells in creating this foam. So I'm going slowly just to kind of get it to go in the direction that I'd like it to go. And I am noticing some of these cells starting to form, breaking up beautifully onto that shore. So we have some of that wonderful, wonderful foam from the ocean. I just want to bring some in, and then I'll kind of spread it out using that dryer. It's on low setting, cool. Do not want to heat up the resin here, but I do want to continue just creating some more of the sea foam. All right, so let me just turn some more music on while I continue. Just want to go over some of that white. Could use a little bit more help. So I want the foam to be a little bit more prominent in that blue. So I just put some more of that ocean white down, uh, it, just to kind of have it a little bit more flowy or flowing. I want the ocean to really come alive. So I'm adding some additional drizzles. I'm not really sure if I'm going overboard with this. Please do comment. Your input is so greatly appreciated. But again, just going for that summer vibe from the ocean, and adding a little bit more foam. Love the way you broke on the shore in that dune colored resin or paste, resin paste at the bottom. It's just really, really pretty. I wanted to try to capture that same sort of effect in that royal blue, and then again in the rich, darker baby blue. So I just want to take the dryer to it, and I am going a little bit faster this time just to see if that will make a difference. And where the wave or that foam crashes a little too much, I'm just going to go back with the dryer and go against where I blew out, so it'll be in the opposite direction, and that actually seems to be working. It just seems to have a more natural flow on that sand. I'm really, really liking that part. And I suppose that in nature, obviously, the waves will be more pronounced in one area depending on how that wave is crashing, whether it's onshore or offshore. But I'm thinking as I'm doing this, it's starting to look more like wispy clouds, or they are starting to look more like wispy clouds, and they are looking more like foam from the cresting of waves. I just want to keep taking the dryer to it, and let's see what other magic we can create. And I'll turn the music back on. So I'm looking at this, and I think I'm going to take the stylus and just pull out some of that foam into the waters, kind of stretch it out in a wave-like fashion almost, not too much, but just kind of a hint, drawing it out and bringing it into the water so that it has a little bit more movement, or that the composition has a little bit more movement to it. I'm not as concerned about lifting the stylus up, and I'm okay, if some of that white, ocean white, commingles more with the that rich baby blue, and it overlaps the lighter blue that is even without the camera lens has a more silvery sheen to it. So again, this is my first one, so I think in the next one I will more than likely use more variety, or perhaps add another shade of blue that is between that royal and that rich baby blue. But again, just pulling out some of that sea foam, the crashing of the waves, making it more, having it have more movement to it, wave-like fashion. I'm just running the silicone stylus through it, and I'll just turn some music back on as we continue to watch. I think I just want to step back and look at it for a minute. Noticing a couple of stragglers here. Again, I was just trying to go for that movement, and I think that there's just a little bit too much of a linear demarcation that I'm not really caring for too much right now. So I'm just trying to take the heat gun to it and sort of soften up that crust of foam, and hopefully it works out. I really have wished I had saved a little bit more of that royal blue to give that baby blue a little bit more depth. Um, but again, it's one of my first attempts, at least in doing resin, and so it's a learning process. And I did not run the silicone around the outer part of the canvas, but I am going to touch it up because it just seems to be not really running off. Now, typically the resin will continue to self-level and it will run off to the, over the sides, and I don't want too much of that to happen because I don't want it to pull away or draw down the composition. So I will be touching up the sides just a little bit, but I want to take again the heat gun to it, and that heat gun will warm the resin up a little bit more, as if it's not warm enough right now. It is getting rather warm, and it's getting a little tacky to work with, which is okay. It's not horrible, except when you're trying to clean up the sides with it, then it gets a little challenging. But just picking up some of the drippings from the cloth that I have down underneath it. I have it propped up on these little pyramid silicone canvas holders, so that if it does drip, and it will land on that, and then the canvas will not stick, obviously, to the surface either. So I just want to just run my fingers across each side, and making sure that it has some of the resin there. As you can see, it kind of dripped, and it's not very appealing right now. I'm not really sure if I'll have to go back and redress it after the composition is dry and cured, but I'll worry about that after all is said and done, because what I intend to do, as I had shown you earlier, just adding a little embellishment in the way of summer shore vibes, and I'll be adding some conch and seashells, perhaps starfish or two, just to again draw in the summer vibes at the ocean. But right now I just want to make sure that my sides are covered with a little bit more of that resin, and I do have enough of it that dripped off and is still underneath that I'm able to scoop it up. But I think I may be running low. Surprisingly, I didn't have an overflow of the resin today, which is always great. So I'm just using some leftover that was in that cup. Pardon my back and my head. I did manage to get the camera a little bit higher, lifted the tripod, a little bit of help. So it's a little bit higher today. I apologize, there's still a glare, so I'll see what I can do about that for the next video. And again, I can tell under my fingertips if the canvas is covered with the resin, and it will glide along a little bit more smoothly. Just finishing it up. And again, I apologize for my back toward you. It's so impolite. I was always taught growing up that you never turn your back on someone when you're speaking with them. So I apologize. But I want to make sure that I do have my sides covered up now rather than later. I think in the future, or when I do another one, I will more than likely go over it with the clear resin, which, as I said, I did not do here. But overall, I think it turned out pretty well. We'll see how it dries, and I will be posting the dried result with those seashell conch, perhaps some starfish, one or two. But for now, I'm just gonna torch out, or actually take the heat gun and get rid of some of the additional bubbles that are beginning to form. I love the fact that sea foam, the breaking of the waves, is carrying through to the top as well. But the bottom is just so pretty. Love that color, that dune color by Baltic Day is really, really nice. So I can't wait to see what this looks like once it's dry. I really appreciate your support. Do hit that subscribe button. So I'm looking at this. I think I need to add just a little bit more crusting of the ocean. So let me do that and turn some music on. I think I'm going to stop it adding to it and just watch and see what happens as it dries. And then I'll add the shells to it. I'll probably wait about 10 minutes or so, and we'll see how it goes. Be good to one another and yourselves.